So good morning. My name is Carmen Feito. I am a member of the board of Harvard Spain Student Association, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the first edition of the Harvard Spain Annual Conference. We have ahead of us a full days of intense discussions about a topic that is of great concern to us all as students, researchers and professionals here at Harvard and in the US more generally. Our hope is that by the end of today, we will not only have understood a bit better what are the causes of the so-called Spanish brain drain, but we will also have framed some proposals for action. Just as a housekeeping rule, I would like to let you know that the panels will be recorded, so in case you have any concerns, please let me know. Without further delay, please join me in welcoming the Consul General of Spain in Boston, Mr. Julio Núñez Montesinos, who will give us some opening remarks.
Good morning to everybody and welcome. I was supposed to speak in English, but you allow me to speak particularly today in Spanish. I think that being the day it is now, the 400th anniversary of the death of Miguel de Cervantes, will be more appropriate to speak in Spanish this welcoming remarks. So, excuse me, but I'm going to go on in Spanish. Bueno, de nuevo, bienvenidos. Es una satisfacción realmente poder estar esta mañana aquí con todos ustedes, con todos vosotros, y participar en este acto. Gracias a los organizadores por invitarme a venir, por estar aquí, por contar conmigo en alguna medida en lo que he podido apoyar el evento, aunque ha sido mínimo. Lo primero que quiero decir es trasladaros a todos el saludo del embajador de España. Sabéis que la idea era que él hubiera podido estar ayer por la tarde con vosotros reunido en el Real Colegio Complutense. No pudo venir porque tuvo que ir a Nueva York para asistir a la firma de la Convención de París sobre el cambio climático, y por esa razón pues no pudo desplazarse aquí como hubiera sido su deseo. Y me ha pedido que os traslade su saludo y su felicitación por la organización de esta primera conferencia, esta primera reunión de vuestra agrupación. Yo creo que es una ocasión muy pertinente, y os felicito por haber tomado esta iniciativa de organizar la conferencia por dos motivos. Uno, por el hecho de empezar a organizar actividades, que el capítulo vuestro a este nivel empiece a reflexionar sobre distintos temas. Y el segundo, por el tema que habéis escogido, que obviamente es un tema muy importante para todos, para vosotros desde luego en lo personal, y también por supuesto para el país. De hecho, mi enhorabuena por haber organizado esto, y porque ya he visto esta mañana que ya estáis en los medios. La conferencia de hoy está apareciendo ya en los medios de comunicación españoles, al menos en lo que yo he visto esta mañana, con lo cual ese es el primer índice del éxito de vuestra actividad. O sea que enhorabuena también por eso, porque estáis tratando un tema que evidentemente es muy importante para vosotros, como he dicho, pero también para el país. Evidentemente yo no voy a abordar el tema, lo vais a debatir durante la jornada de hoy, gracias además a la presencia de unos ponentes de gran nivel, cada uno en su especialidad, con lo cual estoy seguro que aportará una visión muy completa de las distintas facetas que tiene este tema tan relevante. Y lo que sí creo es que es un tema que hay que tratar de abordar desde la serenidad, pero al mismo tiempo desde la importancia que tiene, como digo, para cada uno de vosotros, en la medida en que la tendencia natural, imagino, es la de querer un día poder volver a casa, poder volver a España, pero evidentemente está claro que eso no siempre es lo que se puede hacer, y por tanto el debatir sobre las perspectivas de que eso pueda ocurrir y en qué medida ese retorno pueda ser tanto benéfico para uno mismo como para el país es algo que vale la pena tratar con tiento, con mesura, pero al mismo tiempo con profundidad. Yo voy a tratar de estar en la medida que pueda hoy con vosotros en alguno de los paneles, pero os deseo que sea en todo caso muy fructífera vuestra estancia hoy aquí, a todos los que habéis podido concurrir y por anticipado mi enhorabuena. Espero que realmente esta primera actividad vaya a ser seguida en el futuro por otras reuniones del mismo nivel y la importancia de esta primera, y os deseo todo lo mejor. Buenos días.
Thank you, Mr. Núñez, for this introduction. I will now give the floor to the two co-presidents and co-founders of the Harvard Spain Student Association, Daniel Ibáñez and Pablo Pérez Ramos. Daniel Ibáñez is a Doctor of Design candidate at the Harvard Graduate School of Design, where he is researching the metabolism of cities and architecture. Pablo Pérez Ramos is also a Doctor of Design candidate at the same school, where he studies the influence of ecology in the organization of landscapes and cities. Daniel, Pablo, the floor is yours.
Welcome everyone. It's a pleasure for both of us to finally be here, launching the inaugural series of what we hope are going to be a constant yearly event of somehow celebrating the Spanish that we are gathering here in Harvard. I would like basically now, both me and Pablo want to do a few things. First, introduce you guys the Spanish Association at Harvard. Then give you some ideas of why, a little history about it and why we decided to found this initiative, and then we will jump into the kind of content and topic of the conference today. So basically in 2013 we decided that this kind of period that was gathering a lot of students and faculties here in the university was in a one hand very successful in all the different schools, but it was somehow lacking a kind of broader infrastructure, broader association that could gather and collect somehow the interest of all these people. So basically at that time we decided to, as a way of kind of breaking the different silos of the different schools, to try to propose to the leadership of the university to create this association. That after almost a year of hard work, building an association seems a trivial thing, but everything in Harvard, it takes time and a lot of bureaucracy. But in 2014 we were very happy to announce that finally the association was built. Basically, the goals of this association, among many things that we are aiming to do, is basically gather and kind of coordinate the interest of Spanish community at Harvard, and at the same time the establishment of connections between Harvard University and talent niches of Spain. And above all, if we, since most of us are somehow deep immersed in the Spanish culture, we also want to in a way use the platform to kind of disseminate and promote the Spanish culture somehow at large. So, having said that, we see also the association as having many different goals, like from promoting and tightening the connections between the university and several institutions in Spain, facilitate also the access of potential people, because basically we see the association like in three moments. One moment, that is the one that you guys are here now, it's like people that is staying, and the associations try to be a kind of catalyst of the people that is currently here, but also two other moments. One for those that are willing to kind of join at some point Harvard, and we try to facilitate them the access here. And then a third moment that is also, when we kind of leave this institution, also, how we can somehow coordinate together and find, better connections somehow afterwards. So I think without further ado, I just wanted to, again, welcome you and thank you, and I will leave the floor to Pablo to introduce the topic of today's lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. So, yes, as the association during these years has been trying to has promoted several small events that had some social interest in order for the Spanish community here to get to know better each other. But at the same time, we've been, as Danny said, we try that each cultural or academic event that happens within each of the schools can have can be lifted up by the association and make it reach to the larger community at Harvard. But one of the main goals that we had was the possibility of promoting an annual conference produced by the association, and this is the first time that we do this. After a couple of years putting the machine to work, we finally got to this moment. And we had some discussion with the executive board of the association about what the topic of a first annual conference of Harvard Spain should be. And we came with this idea of the talent. On the one hand, we needed a topic that were specific enough in order to be possible to discuss about it, but at the same time we needed it to be somewhat generic, because this is the first conference, so this is the keystone from which other conferences will emerge. So we thought that the talent topic could, in a way, play that role. And at the same time, we thought that it was something that constituted a transversal topic that no matter what is your discipline here, hopefully you will be able to say something about what talent in that discipline would be. So that being said, at the same time we want, and I think the structure of the conference and the topics in the panels, and we're hoping that we in a way expand this idea of a Spain brain drain, what we call brain drain. It's a notion that is usually presented in the media as, we've been here for a while now, most of us as students during the years of the crisis, and we have been exposed many times to this idea of, okay, the best prepared generation of the country has to leave the country because there is a huge crisis. That is totally true, but at the same time we want in a way to break that pessimistic argument without neglecting at all the very sad consequences of the crisis in Spain, but at the same time to analyze that this idea of just young people leaving the country, or this genius, a scientific leaving the country with a great grant at Princeton University or whatever, is not just a one-step or one-direction movement. The talent is not something that just leaves the country. The talent at this point has left the country with a critical mass of people that has begun to organize themselves abroad of the country. We will be discussing, for example, the idea of the network effect. Again, many Spanish people in the United States, for example, we have good representatives of that idea here, begin to create associations that allowed for that talent to begin to transcend, if not physically with the physical presence of these people back into the country, but creating some kind of synergies with people working there or with companies working there. And also we want to see the talent that goes abroad as an opportunity for people to begin to create connections with people that are not necessarily from Spain, that in a way could revert on the long term on Spain. So, and this idea could be simplified with a very simple argument. I guess the problem is not that the talent leaves the country. The problem might be that the country is not able to bring talent in. So it's okay to leave the country. We had Gonzalo Fanjul a few weeks ago, and he said countries like the United States or Germany actually have much more talent leaving the country than Spain. So it's not a problem of having talent flying abroad. That means that you have talent within. The problem is how you make that talent to create a powerful and productive relations with the country. So in order to do that, we're going to have basically an interview and an informal conversation to which all of you are welcome with Mr. Almunia. Then we will have a first panel that is called Where is the Spanish Talent? And then we'll have our keynote speaker, the Secretary of Employment of Spain, Juan Pablo Riesgo, which will be giving his keynote lecture at 12:30. And then in the afternoon we'll have a lunch break, and in the afternoon we'll have a second panel which is called Brain Drain versus Brain Circulation. I want to thank all our speakers, which will be in order of presentations: Joaquín Almunia, Diego Comín, Nilo García, Fernando Fernández Monge, Alberto López San Miguel, Juan Pablo Riesgo, and then in the second panel, Manuel Hurtado, Manuel Muñiz, Teresa Nieves Chinchilla, and Juan Pérez Mercader. We'll have closing remarks by the RCC personnel.
So I want also take like a couple of minutes to thank a lot of people that has made this possible. First and foremost, the amazing team that we have around the Harvard Spain Student Association that you're seeing there. Carmen Feito Perez, Elvis Garcia from the School of Public Health, Maria Ibanez, who cannot be here with us from the business school, Angela Wan from the law school, Borja Santos from the business school, from the Kennedy school, apologies for that, Alejandro Valdivieso from the School of Design as well, Elena Monge representing the Harvard College, and Leire Laracoechea, which is a former law student, law graduate, and now our external relations officer. So again, here we are just me and Pablo because we are a little bit more the visible heads of this association, but this is really truly a collective effort that has been possible thanks to many labor and hours of all these talented people from many different schools at Harvard. The other, let's say, piece of thank you goes to our supporters, which I want to, make a special mention to the Real Colegio Complutense and the figure of José Manuel Martínez Sierra, which is the director of the RCC. As many of you know, the Real Colegio has been a key institution here, quite unique in the Harvard environment, and also thanks to their support that this institution is operating very well at the faculty researcher level for shorter periods, but we thought it was important also to create a kind of like mirror platform more at the student level, at the researchers level, so we could somehow complement the Real Colegio. So besides the support of the Real Colegio that also has provided us with headquarters and some financial support to kind of operate, we would like to have a special thank you as well to the Fulbright Commission, to the organization of this event, that they were helping us. The same goes to the Ministerio de Asuntos Exteriores y de Cooperación and the Ministerio of Empleo and Seguridad Social. Two other short mentions. Many of us, and I wanted also to acknowledge that many of us had the opportunity to come here to the US in the first place thanks to what we had wonderful opportunities in terms of scholarships from several foundation institutions back in Spain. Among the ones you are seeing also La Obra Social La Caixa, that allow many of us to be here, among others, of course, besides the Fulbright Commission as well. And lastly, the Student Association just of this school that has also been very helpful on organizing this event here. The last two things that I want to basically discuss with you is that what you are seeing in the left-hand side of the screen is just our Twitter, our Facebook, Gmail, and also some conference hashtags. I want to bring this up because one of the things that we believe the impact we will have here today and in general more broadly is only if our voices are also heard. Not only we craft and we think thoroughly a set of ideas here, but also we are somehow able to communicate them. So we will try to make an effort to kind of like publicize and make sure that the conversations here transcend and reach somehow Spain. As our consul was saying at the beginning, already a couple of interviews has been published in a couple of important newspapers in Spain, one in El Mundo from today and also from the ABC or ABC. So I just, we wanted just to bring this as a way of saying, like, maybe this is a small room with 80 people right now, but we hope that the impact could transcend to that.
So, we are just going to begin, let's say, the hardcore part of the conference. We're going to begin to discuss the content. For that, the first intervention will be by Mr. Joaquín Almunia. It will be basically a conversation, as I said, with Daniel and myself and with all of you, rather than a formal interview. Just a few introductory lines for Mr. Almunia, although all of you know him. He's former Vice President and Commissioner for Competition in the European Union. He's also been former minister. He's also former Minister of Employment in Spain. He holds a degree in economics and law from the Universidad of Deusto in the Basque Country, and he's been linked to Harvard for a few years now. First as visiting scholar at the Harvard University Kennedy School of Government program for senior managers in government, and currently as a scholar linked to the Center for European Studies here at Harvard. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Joaquín Almunia.
Hola.
Yes. So basically, I mean, this again, it's very open to all of you. I guess our role here is just to try to frame a little bit what are the terms in which the conversation should be organized. Joaquín Almunia has insisted he's not an expert in talent himself, but because of his very long career in relevant positions in the public institutions, he has probably much to say about this. So first, we're going to divide this into two main blocks. I guess the first one has more to do with the career of Joaquín Almunia and how he's been dealing with some of these questions across that, and the second part will be what he'll be asked to offer some insights in regards to the topic of the conversation of the conference. So first, we saw that Joaquín Almunia career has been, in a way, we found that it's possible to establish like an analogy between Joaquín Almunia's career in terms that he was first, although he had a previous phase in the 70s where he was also working at the European, in Brussels, known as part of the commerce chambers.
Yes, it was the office of the Spanish Chambers of Commerce for European affairs. At that time, Spain was not a normal country, it was a dictatorship, so the Spanish official representatives had a lot of difficulties, of course, in dealing or having a normal relation with the EU. At that time, it's called the European Community. And the Chambers of Commerce, first of all, the Chambers of Commerce of Bilbao, my city, and afterwards the so-called Consejo de Cámaras de Comercio, now they receive another name, but the Federation of the Spanish Chambers of Commerce decided to create an office in Brussels to be present in the European affairs, to have links, relationship with the European institutions, to produce reports and to provide information for the Spanish enterprises, for the Spanish people interested in European affairs. And I was the economist in that office for three years. So it was a fantastic opportunity to be in Brussels before Spain officially was in Brussels.
And then, apart from that parenthesis, we saw, like, first as Minister of Employment in Spain, then you assumed responsibilities at the European level, and as we've seen in one conference by you here, in a lecture a few days ago, then some of these affairs at the European level have also dealt with what means to be today in a global economy, like how the Commission of Competence in the European Union has to, in a way, fight or to protect by the establishment of competence laws against the flow of private companies that come mostly from the US. So in a way we saw
not mostly. Here some people in the US said that the European Commission only reacts against US companies. That is not true.
Yeah.
Most of the investigations, most of the merger control that is developed there, most of the fight against cartels or the fight against abuse of dominant positions are against European companies, of course. But from time to time some very big and impressive US companies that are very powerful, not only here, but also there in the European markets, create some problems from the competition point of view, and the European Commission has to react to this.
So in that sense, I guess the first more, let's say, formal question would be how, in your position as Minister of Employment, what do you think that a Ministry of Employment could do, which is not being done, or which was not done in your years, to in a way not just deal with employment pressuring situations that have to do with the job market at a large scale, but also how from a position like that can the talent be organized in a more positive way that in a way has an echo or a resonance in the global job market at the country level?
Okay, well, I was Minister for Labor, Employment and Social Security from 1982 to 1986. So when I left the Labor Ministry, it was 30 years ago, and a lot of changes had occurred since then. So at that time, we were receiving people that was obliged, because of political reasons or for economic reasons, to leave Spain in the aftermath of the Civil War, or during the 40s, 50s, 60s, and beginning of 70s. So at that time, migration for the Minister for Employment was about receiving people that had left the country before. It was a very different situation. We, at that time, were absolutely needed of talent, because the percentage of each generation attending the universities at that time was still very, very small, and a lot of new activities had to be developed to become not only a democracy, but also a modern economy and a competitive economy. So it was about attracting people and opening doors. Very few people at that time decided to do what we decided 10 years before, is at the end of the university to leave Spain and to go outside to have another experiences, to receive a better education or better skills, and to live in a free world. You know? In the 80s, it was the opposite. In the 90s, the migration flows started to come to Spain. And we were shocked in Spain, because since the period of the Catholic kings, since 1492, where we threw out the Jews and the Arabs or the Muslims, we had not received foreign people. Only the Spaniards who were obliged to be in exile or who were obliged to leave the country came back. But no foreigners until the 90s. Well, tourists, but it's a different thing. But this migration in the 90s was migration to try to cover jobs that the Spaniards didn't want to have. But at that time, I think very few people left Spain. Now, as you said, during the crisis, or since the beginning of the crisis, very many people left Spain, but I had to decide different categories. No? First of all, part of the migrants that came from Latin America or for Eastern European countries came back to their countries of origin. It's a normal thing, positive for them, because they had positive experience during a certain period of time in Spain. Second group, the migrants not born in Spain, but with a Spanish nationality, that came back. In this case, we are also observing migration of Spaniards, but the Spaniards that were not born in Spain. But this creates, I think, a very positive possibility to reinforce the links with the countries of origin of these people that not only knew Spain, the modern Spain, but also had Spanish nationality, double nationality. I think it's very positive. I don't know what the present government, maybe the Secretary of State afterwards will comment, but I think this offers better opportunities than the traditional ones of thinking in our historical links with Latin America and all these things that, in my view, require more content and to go into more details to base the fruitful relations. Third, Spaniards, as many of you, that left Spain, but to have a fantastic opportunity here at Harvard or Washington, the World Bank, as my compatriot from Bilbao, Fernández Monge, that is over there, or in many other places. In the US, in other European countries, in my view, this is a fantastic opportunity with some caveats. That are how close are the doors if someone wants to come back to Spain or to deal with Spain, not living there. And the fourth and the more worrying group of people are young people with good educational levels in Spain that are obliged to leave Spain to have a very, very low quality job everywhere. And this is, in my view, this fourth group is the relevant one of brain drain. The other aspect, as you said, is about, in my view, how to share the talent regardless if you are living or not in your country of origin. And this is another issue. The Labour Ministry, the Minister for Employment and the Services, needs to pay attention to three of the four groups, but not to this group of talent. This group of talent, in my view, is outside the remit of the Ministry of Employment, even if the employment community or the experts on employment issues that are linked professionally with the Labour Ministry, they have to analyze also these flows, because in my view, and I will conclude with this intervention, the figures that I read in the media or in some articles are not very rigorous. There are very different figures referring to the same challenge or to the same problem.
No, that was super helpful. So, Joaquin, let's say you gave us this kind of like retroactive vision of what happened in Spain, but we would also like to kind of inquire you about your role in the European Union. And, you know, framing these conversations and the topic of today's conference, we were wondering is like where we should kind of like put the anchor point. Is it about Spain because we are citizens of Spain? Is it about Europe because we are also citizens of Europe? Or is it about, you know, we are citizens of the world and then there is no kind of like a boundary where we have to refer to? So I would like to ask you like two things. First, you know, from your own experience and knowing that you have not dealt particularly with policies regarding, let's say, higher education or talent, but, you know, what was the role of the European Union on this idea of the circulation of talent? We have seen, especially with the former crisis, that there was a major migration within Europe of, you know, talent, you know, being reconfigured within the kind of, you know, a country level within Europe. And also we have seen a major, let's say, brain drain, you know, leaving Europe. So I don't know if you can, you know, talk a little bit about that. It's like, what's the role of the European Union? You know, with Schengen, it's like it means that you know, all Europe is open to the labor market. So who regulates what? Why at the end, you know, Spaniards are mostly going to other places in terms of, you know, finding the good job. So I don't know if you can develop a little bit further that idea in terms of, you know, the role of the European Union as part of this problem.
Well, there are many questions. First of all, I think we live in a world where we can have different and not contradictory identities. So we have our Spanish identity, even I can add, we have also our Basque or Catalan or Andalusian identity. I can add, I have a Bilbao identity also, why not? But of course I feel European. And when a European is outside Europe, feels much more European than living in Paris or in Madrid or in London. We realize when we are abroad how many commonalities we have among Europeans. Okay. But at the same time, we are citizens of the world. You can develop your research activities or your professional activities here, and you can be in contact every day through Skype, through internet, through the different ways to communicate with your colleagues around the world. The only problem is a different time. You cannot call an Asian friend at certain periods of the day because he will be angry or she will be angry. But you can work online. You can share your working papers. You can have conversations. You can realize how many things can be done without being together in the same office. And this is a fantastic opportunity. And we need to take advantage of this so the distance does not represent the same obstacle now than 50 years ago, of course. Europeans, the role of the European Union, how from the European Union side can be looked at this situation. Well, in the European institutions, when you are there, you are used to work with people from 27 other different nationalities. More or less, all of us speaking in a bad English, but you can work, and you realize that it's not very difficult to do so. When you are in a European institution and you have meetings with people coming from any of the European countries in different areas, the economic world, the scientific world, maybe in the scientific world less, in some sectoral activities, you realize that those who have a European perspective have differences of perspective with the ones at the other side of the table that share your own nationality. And it's my experience. When I was Commissioner for Economic Affairs and after Commissioner for Competition, when I was dealing with the Spaniards, I realized that my perspective was different because I was at the EU level. But the EU level is needed. So this creates some complexity at the beginning, but is not an obstacle. I think it's a way to find positive things. What to do with this? Well, in my view, from the Spanish perspective, I found that Spain is still too inward-looking. The Pyrenees, even in the era of internet, still exist. And this is not good for you that are working or studying or working here in the US. I can understand some of you that said, well, I think Spain is too far away and maybe very few people in Spain cares about us. And this is not reasonable. The citizens of a particular country can live outside the physical territory of this country, but continue to be citizens of this country at the same time that are European citizens or world citizens. And we need to dig into this. We need to find a way to make a reality of this perception. No? Because if not, if because you are here or you are in London, it's not very different in this case. In a university, you risk to lose contacts and to lose relations and to lose interaction with your compatriots that are living in your country of origin. This is a very bad thing. And now it's possible. Technologically, it's fortunately a fantastic opportunity to overcome the difficulties of distance.
And we have seen from your, let's say, especially in the recent years, but all across probably your professional life, you have been always, and especially now, very much attached to, you know, clusters of high intensity of talent as these kind of think tanks. You are a member of the Center for European Studies in the London School of Economics. You are the president of the Barcelona School of Economics as well. You are now also part as well of the Center for European Studies here at the Kennedy School in Harvard. So, could you also tell us the role of these, you know, big think tanks that kind of cluster and bring people together about, you know, what we could assume very, you know, let's say talented people in general from different disciplines? What's the role of that? How, you know, those, you know, clusters of talent would also help to, you know, in the one hand propose somehow strategies of what to do, what's next, what are the kind of like deficiencies, what are the things that could be done, but at the same time the role of these think tanks as places where have a kind of like critical diagnostic of what is happening beyond the ideologies that, you know, some of the governments are trying to kind of like put forward. So we would like to also know a little bit about your experience in these kind of think tanks and what could be the role, because also at some level this has resemblance with what we aim or we aspire to do here as part of the association, so we would like to know a little bit more about that.
Well, you are right, and I like very much to be involved or to be in contact or to be informed of what they are doing, these think tanks, networks around the world. Let me start one consideration that I always rejected during my very long political life, because I started being involved in politics in the 70s, so now 40 years after. I heard many times during the political life to say to someone, well, this requires a political decision. And the political decision is absolutely needed. Politics is needed, it's of the essence for the governance of a community, a democratic society, a country, or a region. But when a political decision is equivalent to a decision that is not based on rigorous analysis, we need to reject this. The political decisions cannot be assimilated to a decision regardless the economic consequences or the impact in providing the results in theory you want to reach. So technical inputs, professional inputs, experts' inputs are absolutely needed. In some occasions, this expertise, these professional groups are of course within the public administration. You need this. When you work in the government, or be it national government or in the European government, the Commission, you need to have working with you fantastic experts, professionals with experience and with know-how. But you cannot have always everything you need. And in this case, you have two possibilities. One, that I don't like in general, is to call a consultant, one of the consultants in the market, and pay them a lot of money to provide an analysis, a study, a working paper. Well, from time to time can be good. If you want to organize the IT system in a big public administration, probably you need a consultant with expertise in this particular area. When you need to design a good strategy to reform your energy sector, be careful with the consultant. Sometimes there is a consultant with vested interest immediately behind. Whereas think tanks, in general, is a community that can give you a lot of support, can give you a lot of good inputs to base your political proposals or your policy proposals. But if, as many think tanks, they are really independent, they are not representing a particular private interest, it's extremely useful. And the second aspects that I like think tanks is that they can recycle people that had political responsibilities and because of the decision of the voters, moved from government to opposition. And this in the US here is a fantastic system. I don't like, personally, revolving doors, going to the private sector to work in the company where you were dealing with in government. I don't like this, of course. But I like very much the revolving doors between the academia, think tanks, and executive branch or the political area. I remember when I was here in this senior managers in government executive course, 1991, one of the participants was a high representative of the US public administration at one agency, and asked the professor, hey, why here at the Kennedy School of Government almost all the professors are Democrats? And the professor says, well, because Republicans are in government. Now, probably, I don't know, but now maybe at the Kennedy School, the Republican side is stronger in the faculty. I don't know.
Well, thank you.
With Trump, probably they will continue to be there.
Well, exactly. Probably the best policy for having all of us back to Spain is that Trump gets in power, so there won't be option of staying in the US, and we will be forced to leave the country and go back to Spain. So maybe that's a positive side if this crazy man makes it to the power. Anyways, at this point, we would like to provide for you guys to ask a few questions to Joaquin. Maybe we can have like 15 minutes, so we will circulate a few mics, and I mean, please use the opportunity. I think this is a good chance also of like, given the lack of having Joaquin Almunia with us. I think it's good for you if you want to take the floor and ask a few questions. I forgot to mention before I hand it to a few hands that I hope they are going to raise soon. We also have a couple of events also during the panels where we hope very much to have your involvement. We have some clickers, and we will make some kind of like in real time kind of surveys to kind of test also the community that we have here. So we would like you to be very present along the day as well. So any questions for Joaquin? I'll start there if you don't mind. It's already on.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all of your thoughts. So my name is Zafira. I have been in Boston working 6 years at Harvard Medical School. I am a junior faculty. Something that you mentioned that I am totally agree is that the people is going abroad, but then the connection to come back to Spain is difficult sometimes. And another thing that you mentioned is that now we have the new technologies, we have Skype, so should not be borders. My point that I would like to just to think with all of you is that sometimes we are scared, we are afraid, and we think it's better to go abroad, get a better training, and then come back to Spain, or it's better to stay in Spain just calentando el sillón, right? And then having an opportunity to stay over there. And I think that the best option is to go abroad to learn, but then we need to fill the gap. We need to have better organizations that are helping us to reconnect with Spain. And in that regard, we have created a lot of people who is here today. They are working in the foundation that we have created here in Boston, where we are trying to connect the talent people who are working in the United States, Europe, and in all of the world, all of the talent, all of the Spanish brain, reconnect with the Spanish society through video conference, helping the new generations, and reconnecting with the universities. We have been working the last 2 years, and we are trying to do that, connect and bring back all of the talent, but intellectually, not physically, intellectually. And I think that this is something that we should work a little bit more together. Now that we are together, we can learn a little bit from each other what we are doing and how we can improve. Working together will be a win-win to all of us. trying to help the next generations to give them what is happening abroad. Sometimes it's even not necessary to go abroad, just to know and learn what is happening outside. And then also for us to reconnect and to bring the new technologies, rigor, excellence, that sometimes is missed. So I think that we should work, the institutions should support us a little bit more. I think that the tanks are very important as well. I don't know if you have any thought about that, if you have seen any other models. We are starting here in United States and coming back to Spain, but personally, I would like that this grow and all together come back to Spain and keep reconnected to our society. So.
Yes, I am not sure if I have the magic formula to solve. So what I've seen in Spain is that at the universities, for instance, you have some universities, not many, that are open to recruit excellent people, talent, and not only Spaniards living abroad or working abroad, but also non-Spaniards. They are open to find the ways to attract these kind of people, and I think it's a fantastic way to contact and to open the possibilities to go back if you want. But many other universities are completely closed. So it's not 100% obstacle. There are good experiences, but not many. In the professional life, the private sector from time to time is able in Spain to recruit. The public administration has a lot of difficulties because of the access system is still too complex, too rigid, and it's a paradox that these kind of jobs, for instance in the health system in Spain or in the educational system at large, I don't know now, but 1 or 2 years ago, had a higher level of short-term contracts than the private sector with low levels of productivity and all this. And this is due, in my view, to the very rigid access systems that exist in the public sector in Spain. That I think it needs to change. It's true that the selection of people to work in the public sector should be based on merit and capacity. But merit and capacity should be tested or assessed not with old system coming from the 19th century. And many modern systems to assess merit and capacity, much more efficient and much more open to those who really have merit and capacity. And I think this is a big fight in Spain. If I compare the way the officials are selected in the EU, for instance, with the way public employees are selected in Spain, the difference is huge, huge. And it's not always easy when you have 15 years of professional experience to go into the public sector. It's not always easy. But there are formulas that can allow this interaction between those who were outside and those who want to go back. In Spain, we are still very, very rigid, and I think this has to be changed. It's very easy to go from the public sector to the private sector. Most of the so-called abogados del Estado are abogados del privado, no? Many. But it's very difficult if you have started your professional career outside and one day you want to participate in these big public services that in Spain are mostly public. Very difficult.
I think we have a question there and another one here in the first row. If you could.
Collect a couple of questions. Yeah. Maybe that's better.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Manuel Muniz. I'm here at the Weatherhead Center. I direct the program on transatlantic relations. My question is a follow-up to the previous one, but about the political class and political parties in Spain, which are considered to be quite closed systems, and you've had a very long and prestigious political career, but that's definitely a route that some of the people that are abroad and that have a public policy interest or government interest would like to go back to. But particularly in the larger, sort of more traditional established parties, that's a channel that seems to be quite broken. And there are mechanisms within the current system that allow for ministers, secretaries of state, senior people, political appointees to set up their cabinets and members from those cabinets from people, that are, in principle, don't have to be civil servants. So I wonder what's your assessment of the sort of the porousness of our political parties, whether you think that's an issue or not, whether you think they're meritocratic enough or not, and how you see that moving forward. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is Geronimo. I'm from the Graduate School of Design. Thanks for being here. I have a question which is a little bit related with your last comment on the way that people access to the public sector. But so my question is what are your thoughts on how can we empower the talent, and not only our talent, but also the talent of the second or third group that you mentioned, of the people that go abroad, to come back in a way in which, so what I think is that there's a cultural problem, in my opinion, where it's not only because there's a lack of demand, but it's also like a lack of belief in the young generation, right? So I'm thinking that part of that competition problem that you mentioned is related with this culture, but also in the private sector, I think that from the public sector, how can you do to somehow change that cultural direction in a way in which private institutions and also public institutions start believing more and giving more agency to the young generations to come back? Because in general, it's not, and at least after the conversations I've had, and I think we all share here, the way back is not that much about money or economic conditions, but more about what you can do actually there. So that's one part of it. And the other part is, I think this idea of talent and this idea of agency when you come back is very related with how long is a period that they allow you as an opportunity to generate a positive or a tangible impact, right? And I think that right now we are in our country very oriented towards a short-term goal. And I think think tanks are a model which works more with the unprecise in a way, but very kind of speculative in the good sense model that I think has a lot to do with talent. So my question is, how can you change, or what are your thoughts on how can we do to change the culture and the short-term orientation? Thank you.
Well, I start answering these two questions, and after I go to the question of Muniz. So, first of all, how Spain treats the young generation. If you look at the labor market figures, in an awful way, it's obvious. So the quality of those who have a job, the quality of those jobs, in many cases is very, very bad. There's a lot of underemployment, under-skilled activities in relation with your professional skills or your educational skills. Unemployment is very high, starts to be reduced, but very high. People obliged to leave the country to find a job. But at the same time, from the political level standpoint, Spain is probably, if you compare other European countries with Spain, is one of the countries where the renewal of the political class has been bigger. Well, Rajoy is the oldest politician active in Spain, and he's around 60 years old. Hillary is 67, 68, and Trump, I don't know. The leader of the Socialist Party, Pedro Sánchez, I know, is 43 or 44. And there are two new parties, the so-called emerging parties, Podemos and Ciudadanos. Everybody is new, and most of them are very young. So, from this point of view, the political class has a degree of renovation very, very high. I cannot remember the percentage of the members of the parliament now in Spain. I don't know for how long there will be members of the parliament, because there will be elections in 10 days, but the percentage of those who were there for the first time was above 50%. And I think this, you cannot find an example like this in other mature democracies. No? But it's true that at the same time, the conditions, the working conditions that are offered to the young people in Spain are terrible, terrible. And there is no, even with this high percentage of young people actively involved in politics at the top level, there is no strong reaction against this. And it's a question that always shocked me. The lack of a profound reaction to analyze in a rigorous way what this is happened. It's terrible, like this. Think tanks in Spain, very few, unfortunately. Here is the country of think tanks. It's a fantastic network of think tanks. In the US, in the UK, you have quite a few very, very good think tanks in different areas. In continental Europe, clearly less than in the UK, and in Spain, less than in the rest of Europe, or France, or Germany, or even Italy. No? So I think this is needed in Spain. The quality of the decision-making process in Spanish politics is very, very low. In part because of the lack of resources of the parliament, that is a very, very weak parliament from the point of view of resources to prepare decisions and to prepare the debates of the MPs, but also because think tanks require someone funding their activities, and in Spain there are good sponsors. We had before some of them, but usually the orientation of this funding activity of big corporations is not going to think tanks, but is going to another kind of areas. And I think is been needed on this. And regarding the Muñiz question, how political parties recruit their people? Very badly. And I know a little bit about this. Very badly. The two main parties, the mainstream parties, both Popular Party and Socialist Party, my own party, very badly. Why you can explain that this person is at one moment in charge of this responsibility? You cannot explain it with an academic work. It's a question of luck, it's a question of friendship, it's a question of influences, it's a question, I don't know, many reasons, but not very rational ones, unfortunately. When a party goes in government in Spain, after the elections, every minister can have a cabinet. That is a good system, and in the cabinet you can choose whoever you want. This is your political team, your small team to work at the political level. This is needed, it's a good system. And it's up to you to choose good people or bad people, to choose people who had to prepare good reports, or to choose people who are unable, that are not able to write an adequate report or a note or a comment or whatever. In the public administration, in the ministries, in Spain, there is, in my view, too many discretion. Even when the jobs are reserved for public officials, the professional career within public officials is not well defined in general. So at the end, and maybe because I'm too old and I remember with very, very pink colors my period in government, I think that 25 or 30 years after, the quality of the public administration in Spain is not higher than 30 years ago, but maybe lower. Whereas the professional qualities and the professional skills and the academic skills and the experiences in the Spanish society are much higher now than 30 years ago. But this talent is abroad or in the private sector more than kept and used in a very efficient way at the political level or in the public sector, unfortunately.
We're running a few minutes late, but we're going to accept 2 more questions. There was one right here in the first row, and then that one there in the third row.
So they start? No.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Gonzalo Jimenez. I work for the Embassy of Spain in Washington, and I'm the counselor for labor and social security, so here I'm with my former boss. I'm also an official. I don't know if I have to say I'm sorry. Well, I thank you very much for your remarks. I very much agree on the picture you painted about the different categories of people living in Spain. I totally agree on the idea that this is a complex phenomenon, much more than many people want us to believe. But I think I missed a little bit the last one. You were talking about Spanish people living in the country for a low pay. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what group of people you were talking about? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joaquin. Just a short question. I'm Manuel Guillén. I'm the representative of the University of Valencia at the RCC here at Harvard. And quick question is, well, we've been asking a lot about what can Spain and Europe can do for us. I was thinking about we can be future entrepreneurs in the future. What could you tell us about being entrepreneurs to solve this problem? I mean, us.
Okay. So, first of all, to my former official in the labor. But you were there in the ministry when I was minister? No, you are too young. You are too young. You are lucky. No, I was referring to, I don't know how many, 100,000, less than that, but I was not surprised if the figure is around 100,000 young Spaniards that left the country during the crisis years to work abroad in jobs whose qualifications are much lower than the educational skills they receive in Spain. A lot of people. I met, these are anecdotal cases, but I remember once in London, 1.5 years or 2 years ago, I was with Mila, my wife, and my son, trying to buy for my son trousers, and the guy who was trying to sell us the trousers was a highly qualified Spaniard that worked in Spain in a consultancy with high professional requirements, and I was there in London selling trousers. And I asked him, but you are here because you need to improve your English? When I was young, I was there in London cooking scrambled eggs and omelettes in a bed and breakfast. And my poor English comes from there. But he said to me, no, I'm here because I would like to find a job according to my professional skills, but it's not possible. That is one case that I remember. Many cases. You can see statements and you can hear here and there cases where in Spain, but also abroad, young Spaniards are working below the level according to their professional educational skills, and this is unfortunate. This is very unfortunate. Whereas some of the jobs that are requested in the Spanish labor market are not provided by the university supply of new graduates every year in some technical aspects or in IT areas, and this there is a strong demand of people and will be stronger demand of people, and we are not able to produce this in Spain. Okay. Entrepreneurs. Well, it's a good way out. If you cannot find another kind of activities, or if you prefer these kind of activities, to become an entrepreneur, to create a startup, to launch initiatives, is a fantastic possibility. And this is happening in Spain. You can meet in Spain many people, many young people launching initiatives. But they also tell you the difficulties. Regulatory difficulties. But now, where is... well, afterwards will come the Secretary of State. Regulatory difficulties that are not the responsibility of the officials, are the responsibility of politicians, of all parties. We have not been able in Spain to seriously discuss which are the barriers to enter into the labor market in Spain in decent conditions. To enter for low paid, low productivity, low quality jobs, yes, but to have a possibility to enter in the labor market. And these regulations, not only labor regulations, but other kind of regulations affecting new startups and all this, are still very high in Spain. Unfortunately, in the doing business list of the World Bank, we are still very low, even if we have improved a little bit. Financial difficulties, and it's a very, very important thing. The Spanish banking system was used, and to some extent continues to be used, to give you mortgages for your house. But who in Spain, in the financial sector, is able to fund a new initiative and to take the risk, to share the risk with the one who has a new initiative and wants to create we are still very, very far away at the level of we need of this. Venture capital is very weak. By no means angels funding origins of the project, very, very few. Venture capital is very weak in Spain, and the banking system is not used to provide financing for this, and it is better to start with your own capital, or with the capital provided by the venture capital fund or agency, than to start your activity as entrepreneur with high levels of debt. It's obvious. No? But it's a weakness in Spain, even if we have a lot of creativity and a lot of good experiences.
Thank you again, Joaquin. Was a pleasure. Thank you all. We're gonna take literally a 5-minute break for bathroom and quick coffee. If you guys need one more in room 124 where we were before, and we will resume with the first panel of the morning at 11:05. Thank you so much.
Just a quick comment. I've just been told by our IT expert that we are not yet a trending topic in Twitter, so we have to solve this. I would ask you to please log on Twitter and tweet whatever you want about the conference. You have the hashtags in the back part of the booklet, so please use them. Thanks.